What's going on, y'all? Before we get into the podcast, I just wanted to remind you about Strong Tower Nutrition, and if you go to stnutrition.com and type in the promo code STRONG, you can save 10%. And I want you to make sure you look at the EDDs that every damn day is the multivitamin. You want to check that out and get your vitamin D. Make sure that's straight. Also, your vegan omega-3s that we use algal oil. We don't use fish oil here. So the reason to take omega-3s would be to support healthy pregnancy, to boost eye health, or support your cardiovascular health. It aids in cognitive and health development, improves your memory, and able to reduce inflammation. So again, if you go to stnutrition.com, you can save 10% using the code STRONG, and we just thank you for support. And we'll just try to continue to provide you with the supplements that will help you move forward. What's up, y'all? So today's guest is a personal trainer. He's a strength and conditioning coach. And he's also coaching young basketball players or even older ones. Trying to get them better to be a better basketball player in every aspect of whether it be conditioning or strength. And we get a lot into that in the podcast, so it'll be interesting. And I learned a lot, and I hope you can learn something as well when you listen to it. So here he is, Phil Gephart. It's my foundation. It's my faith. It's my work ethic. It's my drive. It's everything that I've tried to build for myself that has made me who I am. I'll do what it takes to make
you believe. That story is interesting. I mean, my dad forced me to try out in seventh grade. I was afraid I would get cut. And I wasn't at Newcastle. Then I was at another Christian school in Michigan, and nobody did get cut. You remember those days of that, small Christian schools. And so I was worrying over nothing, but I was MVP that year. I was MVP eighth grade, moved to Newcastle ninth grade. I was, freshman on the varsity team. I was MVP and MVP all 4 years. And basketball just kind of was natural and normal to me. But I didn't think about, maybe end of sophomore year, beginning of junior year in high school, I really thought that's when I started getting really recruited. And I was like, okay, well, I can go to college for basketball, so that's cool. But in terms of past college, I didn't think of that at all until my senior year in college.
Yeah, did you just play basketball or did you play other sports too?
Yeah, in high school, I played soccer in the fall and I played baseball in the spring, and I was really good at both of those. If I knew any better, maybe I should have pursued soccer because I was a goalkeeper, and being a tall, big, athletic goalkeeper is rare and it's wanted. And so when in college, when I was there on basketball scholarship, they started a men's soccer program, and I said, you know what, I'm going to go do it. And I was the starting goalkeeper in college for soccer as well.
Oh, wow, okay.
And I even had some coaches in that league that we were in say that I'm the best goalkeeper they've ever seen at that level. And it was a Division II level. So, but, I only played the 1 year. I could have pursued that. And my guess is I may have been even more successful at it.
Okay. So you did play soccer in college as well as basketball?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I played the two sports. I was recruited by a lot of Division I colleges, about probably 15, maybe 20 total schools, and probably a dozen of those were Division I, maybe more. And then I chose to stay home and go to a Division II school. But looking back, maybe I should have gone to a Division I school and played. Some of those schools were in NCAA tournaments and good pedigrees and whatnot. But anyway, it is what it is.
Yeah, but you never know, like if you would have gotten where you are today, if you would have done that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, the speculation's always fun. It's always cool to think about. I don't regret my decisions. I had a wonderful time in college, but it wasn't until my senior year that I actually, I think, performed to at least a level that I should have performed. I averaged 17 something points a game. I was third in the country in free throws at like 92%. Was all conference, but before then, like I never even averaged more than 10 points a game. I think freshman year was like 7, and then sophomore and junior were both like 9.5.
Yeah.
So I just felt like I was an underachiever kind of thing.
Yeah, it's crazy. What are you doing now? Like, are you specializing in anything, or are you just like a personal trainer or strength coach? Like, what do you call yourself?
Yeah, what do I call myself? My buddies and I, some colleagues that we've done some of the same certifications and
Mm-hmm.
programs, have asked uh, ourselves, and we all roll in a group text. We've asked ourselves the same question because when you think of personal trainer, a lot of people have this preconceived idea. They think Ben Stiller from Dodgeball, running Globo Gym.
Yeah.
They think of these guys that they see, 24-hour fitness, watching the TV behind their client's back. I've seen those people. Um, but we're definitely a cut above that. I've had multiple clients tell me that I know more about their health than their own doctor does,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not claiming to be a doctor at all by any means. But yeah, so I'll give you a quick rundown. 2007 is when I stopped playing basketball. I went back and got my master's degree at Concordia University in Irvine, California, and I was a grad assistant on the men's basketball team. And that's when I decided to become a personal trainer to work my way through my master's degree because it's real expensive in Orange County. And I thought, I played basketball. I know how to train. I know how to work out. I can make a good amount per hour and still be the assistant coach on the basketball team and make it through these couple of years, get my master's. And so when I got certified, my first certification was through ACE, American Council on Exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And when I studied for like 6 months, and when I went through all the study materials and everything, that's when I realized how much I don't know.
Yeah.
And for me, I love being in that position. I love being in that place of, you know, this whole new world was open. Like, wow, I thought I knew something. I don't know shit about shit when it comes to personal training, when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to working out, when it comes to exercise. And so that was a big jump for me in 2007, 2008. And then at the end of 2009 is when, so I spent 2 years really evolving in this personal training field. And everybody that I studied always mentioned two names, Charles Poliquin or Paul Chek.
Yeah.
And Charles Poliquin's a French Canadian, and Paul Chek is probably revered as the best holistic health guru in the world. And so I went and learned through both of their certification programs, through both of their. They both have started their own schools essentially, and that's when I went from like another big Pandora's box was open in terms of like, wow, I don't know anything even still, like even more than I didn't know 2 years ago. Now I don't know even more. And so it's that whole thing. The more you know, the more you don't know. So, that led me to really pursuing strength and conditioning with athletes. It led me to a very holistic approach. It led me to functional medicine and looking at blood work and lab work and hormonal adaptation and things like that. And so my career has really evolved. When I moved from California in 2016, 100% of my clients were executives, CEOs, CFOs, senior VPs, business owners, semi-retired people between 30 and 60. And it was great. All of those people want to live forever. They want the fountain of youth. They have the money to pay for the training, things like that. And then we moved to Austin, Texas, and had to get scrappy and build a new business again from scratch. But by the time we left there, which was only last week, my clientele was pretty much now focused back on that. It was high level executives. It was there was definitely athletes, and there were other folks that were training, but that was my focus. But having the basketball background and the sports background, the last year I've really made it a focus to go back to my roots, to go back to basketball. Even though I've always had athletes, there's also always that Gen Pop clientele in the business. And so about 2 months ago, I hired a business coach, and my main single focus is in the basketball world, working with professional basketball athletes. So yeah, it's kind of taken a turn, but I've basically gone back to my upbringing in basketball.
Yeah, I mean that's cool because I went through the same type of thing.
Yeah.
I went to this I don't even know what kind of school it is, kind of like a Votech college type of
Yeah.
thing. I don't know what you call those. it was like a 9-month school, and you can go for so many different things. Then they had one thing for like personal training,
Right.
and I went and learned. I thought I knew everything. All I knew how to do was lift weights. But then I went and learned like so many different things, how to do things like in the water and different things like that. And we went to got to go to Vegas to get our certification, which
Cool.
was the NSCA.
Yeah.
So I got that, and then I ended up getting also the ISSA, and then after that, that really opened my eyes to like, oh wow, like this is something I like to do, because the reason I wanted to do it in the first place was from training with the football team. And I tell people this story all the time, is like my upper body was dead. I couldn't do anymore, and I was on the ground, like, so coach wanted us to do push-ups. I was like, coach, I literally can't move. He took me by my shirt and was just like, come on, Hamrick, and just like raised me up and down, you know what I mean? I was like, I want to do this to people,
Yeah.
you know? And then, I got to do that. But then somewhere along the line, it was just like, like a lot of these people seem to just, they want it in their mind, but not enough to do what I need them to do.
Right.
You know what I mean? So how do you deal with people like that? Because for me, it was very exhausting. And I talked to a lot of other trainers that says that's on you. And I was like, but I'm doing everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So how would you feel in that situation?
Yeah. I've definitely evolved over my career, but the expert is probably the worst way
Mm-hmm.
to train people. And that's exactly how I did train people early in my career. It was, I know this is what I know. But that doesn't ever translate to the person in their brain of actually creating habitual change.
Mm-hmm.
And so people typically know what they need to do. You know what I mean? If I have a client who's fat who comes to me, I ask a ton of questions, and I really get them to answer their own questions. That's really the probably the biggest evolution I've had, and it helps a lot more my business, because clients get better results, but then it helps those clients to be healthier and to get better results. It's, rather than saying, I do a 90-minute intake session with all my clients, and then rather than just saying, okay, so here's what you got going on, I want you to do this, this, and this. It's okay. So where do you feel you can improve in nutrition? Okay, so you think it's ABC, great. How are you going to do that? Well, I guess I could make my meals the night before, or well, I guess I could wake up 15 minutes early and do that. Okay, great. So which one do you want to do? Which one's better for you? Do you want to wake up early, or do you want to make food the night before? I think I want to make food the night before. Okay, that's a great idea. Great. So they're literally coaching themselves
Yeah,
without
that's
me
cool.
doing anything. It's just guiding them to understand that they already have the answers inside of them. They just need to become aware of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the same, I think, for me, for you, for everybody that's trying to make a lifestyle change. So
How do you train, like, personally, like train yourself? Like, are you into like a certain thing, or like you just do your own thing?
yeah, so the way that I train is the way I train my athletes. I tell people there's really no difference. And the way I train athletes is the way I train my Gen Pop. And I know there are some nuances and some differences, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
with a 24-year-old professional basketball player versus a 45-year-old, gal who's trying to lose 40 pounds. But for myself, how do I train? I train upper body Monday, Thursday. I train lower body Tuesday, Friday. If I'm trying to lose fat, I'll add conditioning in either Wednesdays and Saturdays, and then I always rest on Sundays. It's family day, it's church day. I don't do anything. I try not to do anything on those days other than those things. But yeah, for me, it's a 4-day training split, and that's just how Charles Poliquin really taught and educated us, and that's how he's trained hundreds, literally, of Olympic athletes and
Yep.
professional athletes. And if it gets great results for them, it can get great results for me and for Gen Pop too.
Yeah. So question about basketball players, because I always hear this like myth about, oh, if you're a basketball player, you can't train during the season because it'll mess up your shot or
Yeah.
stuff like that. But you hear like watching The Last Dance, like you see like Michael Jordan like train like an hour before the game or
Yeah.
something like that. So what would be in your, what would you say?
Yeah, no, I remember growing up. There was a handful of Jordan movies. Back then it was VHS cassettes,
Yeah.
and we would watch those. And I remember him when he made the change to training on game days, and he said it helped him. Uh, we know that you can basically potentiate your nervous system up to 48 hours before a competition. So that probably was the biggest advantage that he had training on game days, was it basically activated his nervous system, got him jacked up. Yeah, you have to train during the season. Most players can lose 10 to 15 pounds per in a season. They'll start the season at 210 and end the season at 195. And that's just not good. It doesn't help for strength. It doesn't help for explosiveness. It leads to injury. It reduces your durability. Most basketball players, they go, so for the most part, this is very generalized, but for the most part, that functional hypertrophy range of 6 to 8 reps is kind of a sweet spot. And maybe I'll get into 5s and 4s and 3s if I'm working with a more experienced lifter. But most basketball players go the other way during the season. They go to hypertrophy 10s and 12s and 15s, and they don't realize that the neural recruitment isn't there like it is in the 5s and the 6s rep ranges we're talking about. And so they lose explosiveness, they lose power, and then they're just burning a shit ton of calories every day. They don't eat enough food, and they think they are. But if you're 6'7", 220, that's a lot of food you have to eat just to break even. And then you add, 2 hours of crazy intense basketball, which you can burn almost 1,000 calories an hour if you're playing serious minutes. So you have a BMR of 2,800. Then you add in your non-exercise activity. You're adding another 50%. Then you add in 1,000 calories per hour of intense basketball. Most of these guys aren't eating 4,500, 5,000 calories a day.
Right.
So they're losing. But yeah, you have to train during the season. Have to.
Yeah, because another thing was like, oh, people were telling me like, oh, you'll get injured faster, blah blah blah, and I'm like, I don't think, I think no matter what you do, if you're playing intensely in a game, you're bound to get injured somehow. You know what I mean? I think, yeah, if you take that injury prevention serious and you do it like outside of playing time and stuff like that. But what about also like endurance? That's a big thing too. Like how to train an athlete or a basketball player for endurance. Like, is it long distance? Is it sprints? Is it intervals?
Yeah, so there's three energy systems. And what we know is the one energy system that's used the most in basketball is used 60% of the time, and it's that middle energy system. So you have basically I'm put on blast here. I'm going to forget the names, but essentially we have the anaerobic glycolytic, the aerobic, and then sorry. Here we go. Anaerobic alactic, anaerobic lactic, and aerobic. Okay. And the anaerobic alactic is that, vertical jump, like 3 seconds of energy. And then there's the anaerobic lactic, which is that, intense effort, but short bouts. And then there's that endurance or that aerobic. And 60% of basketball is played in that anaerobic lactic. So that's how your training has to be. That's how your training should be. And there are different energy systems because you're using different fuel sources in each energy system. So if you're training in endurance over here, you're not training your body to use the correct fuel source that you use in a basketball game. So you have to train, you use the term intervals, like you could use that. But think about a basketball game. There's a play, in the NBA, it's 24-second shot clock. And then there might be a dead ball on that play. So that play might only last 20 seconds. But then sometimes there's a play and then transition to the other end, 24-second shot clock, transition back. But if you think about, there's usually never more than 3 or 4 back and forths before there's a dead ball. And it's usually 2 back and forths or even less. So think about the amount of time that you're using and the amount of effort you're putting into that time, if you want to look at it that way. So intense bouts, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, 40 seconds. And the way you do it is you train for the power first, and then you increase the capacity. So you're going to train in the correct energy system in that middle for the most part. And say it's June and the basketball season just got over, and you rested up for a few weeks, and then you get back to training. Your conditioning is always focused on max effort in those short intervals, those short periods. And then as the off season goes on, you can either add sets, if we're talking, sprints, prowler pushes, sled drags, things like that, tire flips, these conditioning type circuits,
Right.
where you're working really hard, but for short periods. And then over the course of the off season, you can add sets, you can decrease time, you can increase the amount of the set, you know what I mean? But your conditioning will improve that way. That's where like the whole science and the art come into it. Like,
Right.
So we're talking the science, and then you as a coach need to figure out what your athlete needs specifically. But you increase the capacity only after you're working on the power of that specific energy system. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes tons of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what I would think. But how do you think, like guys in the NBA, like do you think the trainers in the NBA are doing those type of things?
No.
No.
No, I know a lot of coaches across the world, and none of them have spoken highly of any strength coach in the NBA. Now, I don't know anybody personally, so
Right,
this is
right, right.
hearsay. I don't know you. I know, I talked to a Division I university basketball program strength coach last month. We have some of the similar certifications through the Charles Poliquin route. And he said he knows firsthand. James Harden walks in the beginning of the season and throws down a $100,000 check, basically saying, "Here's my fines for the year. You don't plan on seeing me in the weight room." I know a lot of the guys are, with the physios and whatever, they're focused on, injury prevention and prehab and the banded crap and stuff like that. They don't focus on the training, and so I don't know. Again, I couldn't tell you one name on a strength coach in the NBA. I couldn't tell you one name. So
Yeah.
this is hearsay. But from the people that I know,
Right.
And what I've seen, just LeBron James's workouts and people doing this and that in the weight room and on Instagram and whatnot, it's not impressive to me at all.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying I'm better than them. I'm just saying what I know, and what I know works. I don't see many people training.
Right. And then being in the NBA, you think you would expect more of that.
That's
You know
the
what I mean?
problem with the fitness industry, though, is you have these people who, well, there's two ways I'm going to go with this. One is NBA players they have a job that takes them away from their hometown for majority of the year. So when they're off season, they go back home. So who do they train with? They train with their high school buddy that opened a gym. They train with their teammate that now is a personal trainer at some gym. Like, it doesn't mean anything just because you're training a professional basketball player, but that then could parlay you into a career. LeBron James's high school friend, I'm using an example. Okay, he's training me in the off season, and then LeBron changes teams. Hey, he pressures the team to hire this guy as a strength coach. And you got that. And then you also have, the fitness industry, there's all these influencers now on Instagram who just look good. And because they look good, they have a gazillion followers, and people think that what worked for that person is going to work for them. And sometimes it can, but just because you look good doesn't mean you know shit. So, that's the problem with the fitness industry. It's, oh, that guy looks great, or that girl looks great, and she's telling me to do this, so it must be 100% factual based on science, and it's going to work for me too. And it's just not true.
Have you ever had a client come in and say, like first time sitting down with you and just say, like, "Oh, I was with a trainer that said I can look like so and so," you know, and they just like say a person's name. Like, I've had that before, and I'm just like, huh? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how is your trainer going to guarantee that you're going to look like them? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've had that, and I've had males and females like show me pictures of
Hmm.
Instagram people and say they want to look like this person. The first thing I do is I usually go to the math. So, like one guy, when I first moved to Austin 4.5 years ago, I'm going to take a total guess, but let's say he was 5'10", 185, 20%. Okay.
Hmm.
And he came in like focused. He goes, I want to be 190, 10%. I'm like, okay, 190, 10%. So I'm like, let's just do the math at 200 pounds instead of 190. So at 10%, that's 10 pounds of fat per 100 pounds. So you would have 20 pounds of body fat at 200 pounds. Right now, you have this much fat, which means you have this much muscle, which means you need to put on 28 pounds of muscle. So that's where the math is. So are you willing to train with me for 2 years, or are you willing to train with me for 6 months, whatever the amount of muscle it was that he needed? When you put it in hard numbers, the guy was like, okay, yeah, that's a little more tricky than I thought. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But yeah, 190, 10% for that guy was going to take 6 months, and I don't think he wanted to put that work in.
Oh yeah, I mean, I saw that all the time too. But how is the social media affecting you, like either like good and bad?
I mean, the first thing I thought of was it's affected me bad because it makes me think I have to be on it to have a profitable career, which is not true.
Hmm.
I go in spurts, but lately, man, I don't know when I've posted it. I think it's a detriment to most people. I really, really do. I posted October 8th. It's October 30th, so 22 days ago on my personal page. Like I don't do it that often. I've tried to be more serious this year with it. Regarding the general population, I think it's a really difficult thing. One of the quotes I live by is comparison is the thief of joy. And I think social media has led us to compare way more than we would otherwise. And then people, and of course, people post their awesome meals. They don't post their, pizza and their beer and their French fries.
Yeah.
And they post their, the gals when they're turned at the right angle and their butt's bigger than their hips, their waist, and they've taken 50 pictures and they pick one out of them. They don't give you the picture when they're in their pajamas waking up, without any makeup on. Normally.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I think social media has really been bad for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm someone like I have I do like online. I have like an online store where I sell supplements, and my goal is to have my own like brick and mortar store, like physical store people can walk into, that kind of thing, because I used to work at a supplement shop and I loved it,
Yeah.
and then it after 3 years it went under, and I was just like, oh man, like I love just waking up in the morning, unlocking the doors, and just like setting everything up for people to come in and stuff like that, and just the interaction with people and getting to know their fitness levels, and we talk about different things and stuff like that. So, what do you think about uh, different types of supplements? Like you said, you're like holistic. Like, what kind of supplements do you look into for like your clients and stuff?
Yeah, I have a foundation like the basics. The basics are um, fish oil or omega threes, vitamin D, and magnesium. That's really where I start. From there, assuming people have the cash and they want to invest in themselves and their health, then the foundation also includes a multivitamin, multi-mineral, usually a greens powder, and then something for their gut, something digestive. And so those are my basics. We know that there's a vitamin D and an omega-3 receptor site on every cell in the body. And we know that vitamin D literally affects everything we do in a positive way. Most people don't get enough from the sun. And even now, October 30th, and being above the 37th parallel, most people aren't going to get vitamin D anymore until the spring. It's called the vitamin D winter. And that's why the flu season happens. I don't call it flu season. I call it vitamin D deficiency season.
Oh wow.
So we're out in the sun. And the reason we don't get in the winter is because the UVB rays aren't there. We get vitamin D from UVB. And so we go throughout the summer. We're outside more. We're obviously, maybe at the beach or the pool. We have our shirts off. We're in, bathing suits. and our vitamin D just goes up, and it peaks about right now, about September, October, and then everyone goes back indoors, they put their clothes back on, and that vitamin D starts to go down. And that's when people start saying, hey, we need the flu shot. But in reality, you just need to optimize your vitamin D, you need to optimize your immune system. So yeah, vitamin D is critical. That's the first one. And vitamin D will help with body composition, will help with sleep, will help with immune system, will help with recovery, it'll help with muscle growth. We know all these things about vitamin D. Omega-3 the same way. Most people that come to me either for improved performance or for body composition, their omega-3s to 6 and 9 ratios are off. Omega-6s and 9s are pro-inflammatory. Omega-3s are anti-inflammatory. Fat is inflammatory, and inflammation leads to more fat. So what we want to do is up the omega-3s. So that's always, and we know that omega-3s also help a variety of ways too in terms of muscle building and things like that. The NCAA actually bans omega-3s. The schools can't give their athletes omega-3s because it is a muscle building supplement.
Huh. That's
so
weird.
Yeah, so omega-3s are also my one of my go-tos. And then magnesium. So magnesium is a mineral found in the dirt. Our dirt is very depleted nowadays, and 3 out of 4 Americans are deficient in magnesium. And magnesium is necessary in over 350 chemical reactions in the body. So this certain chemical reaction is going on, there's not enough magnesium present, the chemical reaction can't happen. And so everybody needs it at some point in certain dosages. And so magnesium is absolutely critical. It's an electrolyte, so people aren't hydrated. It helps with hydration. It helps with stress and the stress response in the body. Everybody nowadays is stressed. It helps with blood sugar regulation. Most people don't have their blood sugar stabilized. So there's a host of things that we need mag for. So those 3 are without question, like everyone needs them to some level, to some degree, at some point in the year. I don't think it's a permanent thing, but it definitely needs it. They need it at some point.
All right, so for omega-3s, so I actually sell a omega-3 that's not fish oil.
Yeah.
It's algal oil. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Okay, because I wasn't sure, like, because what it says is that instead of the fish, using the fish can accumulate toxins and can produce peroxide. So I guess that's what it takes out. So I don't know how big of a difference that makes. I know it doesn't taste like fish. You don't burp up fish like you would with a supplement like that. But like in your opinion, like I don't know if you ever tried it or anything like that. Just because when I've used it, I was just like, I don't know if there's a difference.
Yeah.
But I don't taste the fish, so that's what I like about it.
Well, I think anything out of the sea is important.
Yeah.
I think if you look at civilizations, they've always lived near water. And I want to say, I might get the numbers mixed up, but anthropologists say that primitive man consumed 300 to 400 grams of omega-3s in their diet weekly.
Yeah.
And modern man, it's like 20 to 30. It's like 1/10 of the amount. So no wonder there's a lot of disease and obesity and things like that. But civilizations were always around water. So the sea naturally, or rivers and streams naturally had produced life, which humans could then eat. So I think it starts with food. Anything out of the sea you need to eat. I take fish oil, but we eat fish 5 times a week, literally, sometimes 6. Just about every night for dinner, we have some type of fish, and we rotate them. And we always have, I can show you my freezer now, we have 4 or 5 different types of fish.
Yeah.
Crustaceans, those are kind of superior to fish. So yeah, anything out of the sea you need to eat first. In terms of supplements though, if you're not eating it, then yeah, let's supplement with it. I could not tell you if algae oil, I don't think krill oil is good. Flaxseed oil, definitely avoid that. Flaxseed oil is rancid when it hits the shelves. Flaxseed is fine, but not flaxseed oil. So when you're doing omega-3s, I prefer I have an account with Designs for Health, and Designs for Health is one of the best rated supplement companies on the planet.
Okay.
They're very clean, very good source. But the omega-3s that I use are always the smaller the fish, the higher the omega-3 content.
Okay.
So their fish oil is always made from sardines, anchovies, and mackerel, and that's just the one that I use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because I was thinking about, so when you said like when man was like primal in that era, they ate fish so much and stuff like that, and I thought of that show Alone. You ever seen that show?
You know, we don't watch much TV, but I have seen it. Yeah.
Yeah. So like when they couldn't, there would be times where the one I saw, they were put in the Arctic,
Yeah.
and when it started getting real cold, they couldn't find anything to hunt. You know, they were setting traps for rabbits and squirrels, but then other than that, so they had to go for fish. You know, and they were just eating fish over and over and over. The guy that ate the most fish pretty much won. You know, because of course you had producers and stuff. They checked you like once a month or twice a month to make sure you were healthy enough to keep going.
Right.
But no, this dude, because it's funny, is like in the beginning he killed a moose. So it was like 900 pounds of meat or something like that.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work for him.
Wow.
Because there was so much meat that it got bad because he couldn't finish it.
Right.
You know, he just wanted to save it. And you know, it was the fish that helped him more than anything. I was like,
yeah, I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, and then when I started that show, it completely changed my mind about things.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, if he kills a moose, he's good. You know what I mean? That probably hurt him a little bit.
Yeah. So the thing that probably helped him the most, because he was probably, I would guess, in a severe caloric deficit. I would guess there's a lot of problems that he's dealing with. It's probably the DHA content in the fish that just really supported his nervous system, supported his brain function, helped him not go crazy. You know, all those types of things.
That's crazy. So you said you don't watch too much TV, but I was wondering, like, there's a bunch of like health documentaries. Like, you got the vegan ones, you got the carnivore ones, you got all these different things. Do you have like a favorite that you've seen?
The first one that comes to mind is Fathead.
Oh, I never even seen that.
Yeah, Fathead was a basically rebuttal to Super Size Me. I've never seen Super Size Me, but I've read plenty about it. And this is, I know now, 10 years old. It's a long time ago, but basically the guy ate fast food for a month, and anytime they asked if he wanted to supersize it, he said yes.
Right.
Fathead went around and did the almost exact same thing. He ate only fast food for an entire month. And his mission was to prove that you can actually get healthier if you control what you eat. So it's about the macronutrients and keep your calories to a certain level. I think it was just 2,000. I think it was like the standard RDA 2,000. But he never had the soda. He never had like French fries. I think he ate some bread here and there, but basically he managed the macronutrient content, the breakdown, and he managed the calories. And the doctor that he went and did his checkups during the videos was like, I don't support you doing this. I'm not helping you, blah, blah, blah. I'm just taking your measurements. But at the end of the movie, all of his biomarkers improved.
Wow.
So his point was supersize me is bunk. And that's the problem with a lot of these documentaries is you know, you can I mean, essentially it's propaganda. Whether you're for it or against it is probably whether you like the movie. But documentaries show one side, and they tell you the story, and they tell you this is fact. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it isn't.
Right, and they word things in certain ways, and they gear it towards the people that are already doing that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the vegan one. What's that called? I forget what it was called.
Forks Over Knives.
No, there was another one just recently came out.
Oh yeah.
It showed all the vegan athletes.
With the one guy, James. James.
Yeah.
I watched a few minutes. I watched a lot of breakdowns on both sides because I mean this is my job to you know, pay attention to it. But yeah,
Yeah,
that was a
the game
huge
changers. That's what it is.
game changers. That's right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that one is that something like? Do you have clients that ask you about these things, like stuff they see
Oh,
on TV?
all the time. So if you go to, I'll send this to you now. So yeah, this is it right here. My wife works for a global health guru, if you want to call him that. I'm sure he would hate that term, but I'm messaging it to you now. But his name's Chris Kresser, and he
Oh,
actually,
okay, yeah,
yeah, he actually has been on Rogan 5 times. But the last time he debated James, the guy from Game
yeah. I
Changers,
think he got destroyed though.
he did.
Yeah.
He did, and it was funny, and hopefully this isn't like bad that I'm saying this, and it's inside baseball, but
hmm
he was on Rogan the week prior, and he was on Rogan the week prior, and he's a busy man, but he was on Rogan the week prior, and basically didn't have time to prep like he should have for this next meeting, which was
Yeah.
only a week later. And he went and did it, and he actually texted my wife and some of the others who are like the managers essentially of his company, and basically said he's like, I got destroyed. So,
Mm.
but what he did, what I just sent you was after the fact, he was able to do the proper research, and he posted it on his website, debunking pretty much everything, what James said. Because James was like, how do you even call yourself an expert, Chris? You don't even know how to read a forest plot. And it's like he was debating some of these points that were kind of ridiculous, if you ask me.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so I just sent you that because it's
Yeah.
it's interesting to read. But yeah, he did. He got pretty crushed on that debate.
Yeah. I listened to crap. What's his name? Lane Norton a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because I listened to him debunk what the health,
Yeah, I remember What the Health. Yeah, that's another big one lately.
because that was a big one. My favorite actually isn't it? It's not so much about food. It was more about steroids. It was bigger, faster, stronger.
I did watch that with the Bells.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, that was fun.
that was one of my favorites. I've always been interested in that kind of thing, like different steroids and like what it really does to you and what people think it does. And you got it. It goes as far as taking it to Congress, and all these people just love baseball. They don't know nothing about what people are taking.
Yep,
They just know
sure.
that they love baseball and they don't want it to ruin their sport. You know what I mean?
I say let it happen and let's see how far they can hit a ball.
And if you got like doctors like overseeing things or something like that, I don't see what the problem would be.
It's out there. I mean, there's been technological advances in equipment and in the science behind how we eat and what we should eat and supplementation. Why wouldn't we allow some steroids into the mix? I don't
Right, and
care.
everyone's looking for an edge no matter where you're looking at.
Yeah.
You
Hey, if
know?
you can grab the top of the backboard, I don't care. Let's see it.
Yeah,
Show
I
me
mean,
what you can do.
exactly. I mean, it's being used even in. I think they said cycling is the most used
Yeah,
out of everything.
yeah. A
Cycling.
lot of Olympians, the Russians, a lot of Olympic teams get get in trouble for using them.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So, how many do you have a lot of like success stories like with
I
for
do.
people?
Yeah, yeah, I do. Some in the basketball world, some in the Gen Pop world. One of my favorite clients I ever worked with. He's still working out with a coach of mine at my gym in Austin. He, if you go on my Instagram and scroll, a few swipes down, you'll see him. But he was 350 at his peak,
Mm.
and we got him at his leanest. He was 160, so he lost 190 pounds. Now when I met him, the way he tells the story is he started at 330, and I didn't know till about a year into working out that he actually started at 350, and on his own, just kind of doing hardly anything, he got down to 330. So he calls 330 his start point, but that's when he really got focused. He went on an all liquid diet for 6 months and he lost 100 pounds. And when I met him, he was 226, and at 226. From being 350, he had a lot of weight still to lose because he's only 5'8", maybe 5'9". He was 41 at the time, 42. And so he looked at it at 330. Sorry, it was 165 he got down to, because he wanted to cut his body weight in half. And he thought that just would be cool. So yeah, we essentially, he lost 60 pounds working with me. And the before and afters are great. And I'll tag you and show you. But yeah, the left, he's a 350-pound man at 5'8", and on the right, he's doing chin-ups with weight strapped to him. He's doing dips with weight strapped to him. And now he's a triathlete. So he hit 165, I want to say around the turn of the year this past year, like January. And then he was like, you know what? I want to run a triathlon. I want to do an Ironman. I'm like, all right, cool. Whatever. He races. He's a Google Cloud architect, but he races Porsches for a living. He's a race car driver. And that was initially why we had to start losing weight, because he was offsetting the balance of the car.
Wow.
Being 330. And so they had to weigh down the other side of the car to help his balance during races, because he's driving these Porsche Caymans that are really small and light. And so, but yeah, so he still races, but his health is just great. And he sent me probably the greatest text I've maybe ever received when I moved there a week ago. Brought tears to my eyes about how, it's just been life-changing for him. And so yeah, he's probably my favorite success story. But now, so then COVID hit like February, March. And so he's like, couldn't do any of these live events. So he bought a Garmin, and he bought a thing that attaches to your bike that essentially puts pressure on the tires that simulates certain road races like the Tour de France. So like you want to go up the hill, the whatever it's called, the thing on the wheel will tighten to simulate the grade of that hill. And so through the digital world, through his Garmin and through that thing on the bike, he qualified for the National Ironman Championships in May, June of this year. And so now he's got a swim coach, and he did his first meet maybe 3 weeks ago, and I think he finished 5th in his age group out of like a couple hundred people. Like the dude is just a stud. So yeah, I love talking about him and singing his praises, because he works his ass off, and can't say enough good things about him.
Yeah, that's great. That's crazy, man. Like,
Yeah.
did you hear? Did you hear about the woman? She did that kind of thing, right? And she was going.
Yeah.
It was like one of the races to qualify, and I think she was almost finished, and she was like, I think she was like top 5 or something like that. Her husband tripped over the cord. So she got out of the race, and it didn't.
Wow. Where was this?
I forget where I saw an article on it, and I'm not sure where it was, but I just know it was one of the virtual races, and it was an actual race, I think.
Yeah. Wow.
And she was like top 5, and then he tripped over the cord.
I wonder if anything like that's happened to Ryan. That's so funny.
I was like, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But are those success stories like kind of why you got into training people, like the general population?
Yeah, the why has definitely changed a little bit. I mean, when I first got in, it was I need to make money. I'm living in Orange County and getting my master's degree. Like I need to make more money than being a barista and being a waiter type thing.
Yeah.
And so, and I couldn't have a regular job because our basketball practices were in the middle of the day. So nobody would hire me because I would have to leave for essentially 3 hours in the middle of the day to be there early for practice, 2.5 hour practice, and then get back. So I had to do the really early morning stuff and the late stuff. So I was like, I could be a trainer and I could work around it. And that was my why at first, was I needed flexibility and I need to make a lot per hour, more than I'm making now. And then when I, like I said, in about 2009, discovered Charles Poliquin, discovered Paul Chek, and really started learning their stuff. I was really like, wow, it opened up a Pandora's box. Like I can really help people, like not just help them to lose weight, but like help them to live longer, help them to not have a heart attack, help them to, be able to play with their kids and their grandkids. Like this is amazing. And just working with people and being a coach was why I went back to college in the first place to get my master's. So And I went to be a basketball coach, so I changed that to being basically a person, a human coach. But yeah, I love helping people. And like I told you, I've evolved to where now I'm asking a bunch of questions, and I'm essentially helping people uncover that they knew the answer the whole time themselves.
Right.
They needed somebody to help them discover it. So it's been great. Yeah, and that's really my why. Is just yeah, I'm 40 now, and I have two babies,
Mm-hmm.
and so I need to make a living. I need to make money, but I love helping people get healthier. And then from the basketball player point of view, I just love helping them realize their true potential. Like, they're playing second division in Germany, and they could potentially be in first division Germany. They could potentially be in the NBA.
Yeah.
They're playing in a country that's not basketball known. Like, I have a player I know who's in Morocco. I have a player in Canada. These aren't very big leagues,
Mm-hmm.
but to get to that Pro A level in France or Germany or even NBA is really really awesome.
Yeah, and so what do you think about like high school? Is that where you should start training at? Is it in high school?
Absolutely,
Like
no
for
reason
sport,
not
like for
to.
sports?
Yeah, you can train as young as 9. When I left Austin, I had two sisters. I think she was 12, maybe 13. One of the most natural lifters I've ever worked with. I've posted about her on my Instagram too. This little 12-year-old girl um, cleans, clean and jerks, like snatch pulls. Like she's just a natural.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can train early, and you should.
Yeah, I mean, because that's what I'm a big believer in too. I think it really gives you, especially in high school, I think it gives you that edge because, especially, not a lot of schools have the opportunities to do that for their teams and other kids unless you're out doing it by yourself and like individually, like your parents are paying for it or something like that. So I always like my nephew is big into baseball.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I was like, dude, you need to be faster and stronger. Those are two things that, you're really, I think you're weak in. And it's one of the things, if you start working on it now, you're going to be levels above the people that you're playing with,
yeah,
because you got talent on top of it.
yep,
But, so I
yeah. I
like,
agree. I agree. At that age, it's really about rehearsal of movement too.
mm-hmm,
That's a big thing for me. I had a football player, middle school football player, a couple months ago, and yeah, he was not a good mover at all. He was very immobile, very inflexible, and it was just teaching him the movement patterns and getting them down before then, in high school being able to apply a heavier load. You know what I mean?
yeah.
When did you start training?
Me, so I was on and off through high school because I played soccer
Yeah,
and I wanted to get bigger and stronger. So I started lifting with the football team.
cool.
And so their strength and conditioning coach like really like drilled something in my head like I need to be doing this. And I saw a difference on the soccer field, But then after high school, I didn't go to college or anything,
Mhm.
and I just started working. And then my mom signed me up for for Dawn Career Institute, which is like the 9-month school I went to for personal training,
Yeah.
without telling me or anything like that. She's like, "Oh, we're gonna go look at it," and good thing I ended up like loving it.
Yeah.
We did our book stuff the first part of the day. They had a basement full of like gym equipment, and we went down there the second part of the day. So
Cool.
it kept me focused. It kept my attention. I think my attention was the biggest thing,
Yeah.
And then after that, I actually never worked out in a gym until I started working at one. So yeah,
Yeah.
and I started working at Anytime Fitness. So I would go there around like 1 or 2 in the morning. There would be no one there, just so I could figure out how to use the machines because I
Yeah.
didn't want
Cool.
to look stupid.
Yeah.
So and then I found my way into bodybuilding, and that just after like when I found bodybuilding, it just took off. Like my passion just took off for all types of training,
Yeah.
and but I also was so stuck on just your basic weight training.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is all you have to do, blah blah blah. Whereas now, like I do so many different things when I work out.
Yeah.
So But yeah, I mean, and that's all how it started. And then from there, I stopped bodybuilding in 2014 because I actually went to take a year off to get
Mhm.
bigger. Because
Yeah.
that's what the judges told me. They're like, you have shape, you have lines, you need to get bigger. I was like, well,
Yeah.
I know that,
Yeah.
so I took a year off to do that. But then I ended up getting engaged. I ended up trying to get a house, and all these like life just started happening.
Yep.
And then my love for bodybuilding just kind of dwindled, because I was so heavy into it. That's
Yeah.
all I cared about.
Yep.
So, but now it's really about like I don't train people anymore. Well, I mean, I do. I help my friend out. She's a amateur fighter. She's 4-0
Cool.
right now. So I help her out, and you know, it's fun. It's fun training athletes. I think it's more fun for me because she knows what she wants.
Yep.
I don't have to uh, try and get to trick her into knowing what she wants, whatever. She knows what she needs to do. She knows things about herself that she needs to do, and I tell her too. I'm like, look, you need to get faster. Like the way you're moving around the cage, like it ain't gonna cut it when you get pro. And that's what she's shooting for now is her pro debut.
Cool.
So that's
That's
what we're
awesome.
shooting for, and that's where I'm at with training. And I do a lot of powerlifting. I'm big into that right now. And
Yeah.
then I'll add a little bodybuilding in there, here and there, some plyos, stuff like that. But I just do it just to keep my mentality strong,
Right.
and then keep a decent body. I don't want to look gross. So,
Yeah, that's one thing. I've said that to many people is if you are strong, you probably have a certain level of dominance over your own brain because it takes a
mm,
certain level of willpower. It takes a certain level of dedication. It takes a certain level of commitment. It takes a certain level of this has to get done. It takes a certain level of recovery.
mm,
So, I love strength. I love being strong. I mean, it's in all of my business names. I mean, I put it everywhere because there's more to it. That word, there's more to it than just being physically strong to me.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm a big fan of that. So what's your deadlift at right now? Since you're a power lifter, what's your PR?
I couldn't even tell you. Trying to think. The most I've ever done, I think, was five something.
Yeah.
But I gently passed out after, like, like I fell to my knee and stuff like that. But
One of those.
yeah, I don't try and I mean, I do a lot of like fives and threes,
Yeah.
and what am I doing now? What's it called? So I was doing the 5-3-1 program.
Somebody mentioned that to me recently, where there's a day where you go to five and then a day of triples and a day of singles. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know anything else other than that, but must be making its rounds right now because someone just told me about that like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think it's great starting out,
Yeah.
but you kind of plateau through it. You know what I mean? I stuck with it for a long time, and I was just like, I gotta do something different.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing the strength gains like I was before, but now I'm doing something called it's like N Suns.
Hmm.
It's like a step up from the 5-3-1, but it does tons of volume, I mean like 9 to 12 sets.
Yeah.
And you're doing like deadlift and front squat, and then for one day, the next day is like shoulder press and bench press. The next, stuff
Yeah.
like that, and it's fun for me. You know,
It's what, like 10 sets of two or something like that? 10 sets of three?
um, let's see. So this one will go five five reps of 75%, and then 3 reps of 85%, 95% 1 rep, and then the rest is threes.
Okay.
And it goes 90, 85, 80, 75, 70, 65.
Okay. So you're just backing off for the final
Right.
X amount of sets. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And it changes every week too.
Yeah.
But I mean, it keeps things interesting. It keeps it, fresh and fun for me because that's what I'm so used to doing the same things because I'm the same way with eating. I eat the same thing
Yeah.
every day, because I can do that. But
Yeah.
then, on my days off when I'm not working or something, I go all out. Like, you know what I mean? Because then that kind of like resets everything. But it's weird though, because I do feel good when I just eat like crap
Yeah.
for the 2 days, because then it
Yeah.
resets me. Then during the week, I'd eat what I need to eat.
Yeah.
And I track my calories and my macros too, because I found that's the best way to that works for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
So,
When you go off the reservation, so to speak, is it mostly carby, or is it mostly salty, or is it a combination, or
a combination.
yeah?
Yeah, it's
Or is
just
it
yeah,
definitely more carbs than you normally eat when you're
a lot more
working?
carbs, a lot more carbs. Yeah, which is funny. Which is it's probably a lot more carbs, but a lot less calories. Because during the week, I eat about 3,000,
Uh-huh.
and most of the time I'm trying to shovel it in.
Right.
Whereas during the week I feel like I eat crappier, but not as much.
Huh.
So yeah, it's a weird thing.
Yeah.
Maybe because that food fills me up a lot
Yeah.
faster. So
Yeah. It's also, I mean, so cortisol and insulin are inversely related. So it's the whole point behind comfort food. So you're driving down cortisol. Insulin's also needed to convert T3 to T4, T4 to T3, the active form of the thyroid hormone. So you're upregulating your thyroid. So you're probably just sitting there feeling great because you're eating
yeah,
so much stuff that does that for you.
yeah. If I was feeling like crap, I would definitely change something. So I was
Yeah,
like, hey, whatever I'm doing, I'm doing
yeah,
something right. So
yeah, totally.
you know what I mean? But so I like to finish these up by asking just like where you're at now in your life, not just with training, but with anything in your life. Like what is your mindset? Where is your motivation just to keep moving forward with everything that you do with your business, with your family, that kind of thing?
Um, so my life has greatly changed. We have adopted two daughters, 21 months and 8 months.
Oh wow.
So not even 2 years ago, I became a father. There was some infertility issues. There was a definite uh, reliance on God. There was definitely some anger potentially, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. But and then 13 months later, we adopted our second baby daughter this past February. So my motivation now is my daughters and my wife. Like I said, I started a new business. Essentially, we moved from Austin to South Carolina just last week, a week ago Thursday. So it's only been 8 days. So getting my online business ramped up is huge, because to support the family, and just being that's part of being the best father I can be,
Mm-hmm.
and then just really keeping my spiritual strength up too, really just staying focused, and knowing that, I mean, the 21-month-old especially, man, she watches everything I do and she parrots everything I say. And it's only going to get more so
Oh
with
yeah.
the when the second one starts coming up and as they get older. And so it's just trying to be the best man I can be. And part of that is keeping myself healthy. Part of that is keeping growing my business so that I can support my family, things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's really my why right now.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you coming on, man.
Man, I thank you for having me. This has been cool. I love chatting, and I mean, I think we kind of got reacquainted. It was about 5 6 years ago when somebody shared something with me of you on Instagram,
Okay.
and you move away from an area, and
Mm-hmm.
then you don't see someone for 10 years, and then you see them again, and it's always surprising.
Yeah.
And it was like someone had took your kid face and put it on a bodybuilder body. Like to me, it was like, oh my gosh, I know that kid, but now he's
Yeah.
a big strapping bodybuilder guy. That's weird because it's the same face, but that's not the body I remember. I remember him being in elementary school,
Yeah, it's
uh,
crazy.
and I was doing dips, and I think I had like
Oh
two or
yeah,
three.
yeah, yeah.
I had like 2 or 3 plates strapped to me doing dips, and I sent it back to you, and I think you did like 3 plates plus a quarter or something like that. And we went back and forth a couple times on how much weight we could dip. But yeah, no, it's been great. Just kind of reacquainting with you. It's been fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. And I just just hope you do all the big things that you plan to do, especially with your business. Because I know how that goes, and I know it's tough.
Yeah, restarting stuff. It really is.
Yeah, all right, man. I'll talk to you later.
Yep. See you, dude.
What's there out in the dark? Make sure to keep all your windows locked.